right. So I think we're gonna get started. Word has it that the speakers that carry in here don't carry in there, so there'll be another thing going on over there for just a couple minutes. But we'll start anyway. So I just want to open and welcome you all to our fourth event in our Ideas for Innovation series. Thank you all for being here. I think it's a great night to be here. Obviously, weather-wise, it's gorgeous. It's a great night for us to get out after the speakers talk, to actually get outside and see some stuff, which is really the focus of this conversation tonight, really about the transformation of vacant land into an open space network, into a highly innovative open space network. And I think certainly many would attest to the fact that we're seeing a lot of that come together right around here, particularly along the Beltline right now. And I know many of you are experiencing this and leading this in your own regard. We've got a really exciting lineup tonight, a great keynote speaker with our own Dara O'Byrne. We also have a great panel that'll be coming up here shortly. I do want to quickly put some thank yous out. Since with Detroit Future City, as you know, I should also introduce myself. My name is Dan Kincaid with Detroit Future City. Sorry. Yeah, not some guy that just randomly grabbed a hold of the podium. But at Detroit Future City, we do everything we do in partnership, and tonight certainly is no different. Many of you across the room I recognize as key partners of ours, and certainly there are folks very close to this initiative who've made it possible, and I do want to just extend some quick thank yous here. First, of course, to the Knight Foundation as a key sponsor for this evening. The work that we do with Katie Locker is critical. And we really appreciate everything that Knight does for us in this effort. We want to also thank our media partners tonight. Of course, Michigan Radio. We'll be hearing more from Michigan Radio tonight as our moderator comes up. I want to also thank Berg Muirhead as part of our communications team and helping to really promote these events as well. And thank you to you all for connecting others. And in fact, on the communications point, I do want to say something that we forgot to say at one of our past events, which was that you can join the conversation using social media this evening, using hashtag DFC ideas. So I'm a bit of a Luddite, and I don't even know what that means, but it sounds really good. I don't think we need to differentiate between capital letters and, okay, yeah. So it's on there too, yeah, all right. So I want to also thank a few other partners. Of course, Gleaners, our host this evening, our convening group, a group that works with us week in and week out to form and strategize these events. I want to thank Land Inc., a legislative policy division of the City of Detroit, the Detroit Workers for Environmental Justice, the Detroit Greenways Coalition, Food Plus Detroit, North End Christian CDC, as well as Detroit Eastside Community Collaborative, Detroit Greenways Coalition, and the Mount Elliott Business and Community Association, last but not least, Earthworks Urban Farm. We're gonna have some tours later on, and I think Jennifer will be speaking about this, but we'll have some tours later on, and these will be brought to us by some of these groups, including the Eastside Community Collaborative and Earthworks. So we're excited for that. Now, as we sit here tonight, I think it's important for me to put tonight's event into some additional context. The first is through us as Detroit Future City, the work we do as an implementation office. Our office is really dedicated to bringing the Detroit Future City strategic framework to life. This is something many of you all in the room, formed over 3 years of very hard work. It's a shared platform for the city's future, and we hold it as an critical duty of ours to move it forward with you. There's three main facets to what we do. The first is that we drive impactful pilot projects. We try to drive catalytic activity to begin to inform others about what's possible in Detroit, allow us to take a few risks out there. We want to build capacity amongst our partners and learn from our partners as we do it. And lastly, we want to make sure that we are blazing an innovative trail into a shared future. This is not a time for platitudes. It's not a time to kind of step back on our heels. This is a time to really lean forward and to really take some risk and to push things forward, knowing that we have an opportunity right now in Detroit to do things that really many other cities can't even begin to contemplate. And it's from that point of despair that many would define for Detroit, perhaps outside of Detroit for us, that we find some of the greatest hope and the greatest opportunity, and those things that will actually allow us to leapfrog ahead of others and to show others what's possible, not just in the United States, but globally. If you think about cities across the world that are rapidly urbanizing right now, in the struggles that they're suffering from, with rapid urbanization and population growth and limited infrastructure, how does a quote-unquote shrinking city like Detroit, which is certainly not shrinking anymore, begin to actually inform how rapidly growing cities can form themselves to make sure that we have a more sustainable globe overall. So together, I think we have an opportunity to do things that others might not do separately. And this series intends to really illuminate Detroit's innovative future, right? That's really what Ideas for Innovation is all about. It's really about how we are all part of it together. We have really, 3 areas of focus that thread through these events. This includes a focus on equitable growth, understanding how we can all work together to stabilize neighborhoods, and then also how we can help to transform our vacant land into an open space network. Certainly that's the focus for tonight. We want to identify tonight real opportunities to understand how we can transform this perceived liability into an asset. And I think the very location that we have tonight is not chosen by chance, of course. We sit at an organization, within an organization that's working to help folks within the city of Detroit and the region. And this facility is located within a larger area along the Beltline that's a site of rapid innovation around open space reutilization, right? Whether this is around food production or energy production, we have opportunities to explore, and I think many of them are present here right now. So for us, whether it's around employment, ecology, tree canopy, recreation, a whole host of things, we have opportunities, again, in Detroit to create a very unique value proposition that many other cities simply cannot put forward. And I think we should reflect on that when we can and really rally around it. So one other point to be made here is that I think what we want to share with you tonight is not only how we can all do this together, but how we as individuals have opportunities to pursue things on our own that can actually contribute to a larger whole. So to illustrate very, very quickly how we do that, how we all do that as individuals in Detroit, we're gonna share with you a very short video that I think highlights how we all do these things every day. It's brief, but it'll give you a kind of sense of what we're really talking about here. Go ahead.
The starting point. A shared vision. Participation. Innovation. Action. Opportunity for Detroit and all Detroiters.
So as I said, that was a short video. I can personally attest to the fact that I think it could be twice as long. I kind of just got into it and then it stopped. We'll work on that. So in the spirit of what we just showed you too, I want to illustrate for you how some of these things are already coming together in the work that we do together collectively as Detroiters. And I want to bring up Alondra Bolger from our team to talk about the work we recently did with many others around the room at Blake Boot Camp, and talk about some of the folks who really put forth some really interesting ideas about what we could do in the city.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening. I'm also joined by Christiane Sims from the Impact Detroit Network. Last Saturday, Detroit Future City, in partnership with Impact Detroit, held our second annual Blight Boot Camp. For those of you who weren't in attendance or didn't get a chance to make it out last year, Blight Boot Camp is a collaborative effort that brings together residents, organizations, and members of city government for a day of community learning around resources and tactics to increase the impact of community-led blight elimination efforts. This year we did something a little different. We introduced the Innovative Ideas Pitch Party. Through that party, individuals and community-based organizations were provided an opportunity to submit for a funding request for their innovative blight elimination projects. The top 8 requests pitched their ideas at Blight Boot Camp, and the attendees selected the top 3. Those groups are here with us tonight, and we want to acknowledge them. So I'm going to pass the mic to Christiane so she can share the top 3 winners. And those groups had an opportunity to compete for $5,000. First prize was $2,500. Second prize was $1,500. Third prize was $1,000.
So I would like to start off and ask everyone who participated in our pitch party to please stand to be recognized. So any of the 8 participants who are here representing your community groups, I've seen a few of you. So the pitch party was 4-minute pitches. So they had to get their ideas out in 4 minutes to a crowd of over 150 people in order for a chance to win up to $2,500 for their project. For our top prizes, we had, for our $1,000 prize was Great Communities Now with Jackie Perkins. And so she had a project about how to put barriers up using reclaimed materials such as tires, pallets, and using those to place around abandoned homes in order to beautify them from a landscaping perspective as well as boarding up. So Jackie, would you please stand? Just be recognized. No, you're fine. Our second second place winner was for $1,500 was 8 Mile Community Organization. So I know Carla and Teresa are here. Their innovative project was doing a cleanup scavenger hunt. So having kids go around picking up trash, getting points for types of trash they're picking up, and turning those points in to be rewarded through gift cards and other prizes. As well as doing a community picnic that celebrates all the hard work that the community did that day during the cleanup. So that was their innovative project. And then our first place winner, which I would like to have the ladies please come up, is the women of Banglatown. And they won our $2,500 prize. So we have a big group of ladies, and their project was to take a vacant a garage in the neighborhood on the Burnside Farm area and turn it into a community space for the women in the neighborhood to come and gather, as well as create art together and also grow product and all throughout the year. So not only in the summertime when it's warm like today, but also in the wintertime. And so their money is going to be used to put a new roof on their building. So we have a mock check to present to you ladies.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that all of us probably had our heartstrings tugged when one of the young ladies said, "We just want to have a roof to keep the snow out." I mean, how simple is that? So we present you guys with your mock $2,500 check.
And I also want to say that all the projects are actually, there's information about all the projects that are presented, all 8 of them, on the table basically directly behind me. So there's contact information for all the 8 project presenters, because no matter who a winner is, everyone is won because they were able to share such fantastic ideas with the entire community. So I encourage everyone to help support everyone's project if you're able to, and really pass along these innovative ideas and open space ideas throughout the community and partner up and collaborate going forward. So there's information on the table outside. So afterwards, I encourage everyone to meet all the pitch presenters who are sticking around, because they're more than happy to talk about their project as well as collect information about what they're doing. Thank you.
And now we'll bring back Dan Kincaid.
Great, thank you very much. And that, I mean, obviously that is what it's all about. So that was fantastic. I want to close just by noting a couple things here really quickly. The first is that these kinds of efforts and the effort that was put together around Blight Blue Camp is indicative of a lot of the work that's happening across the city. And one great example of it in its 9th year is Arise Detroit Neighborhoods Day. Neighborhoods Day happens to be August 1st, Saturday, and we encourage everyone possible to get on out to help with that. It's a significant initiative. It's larger than ever. There's real opportunities for everyone to plug in, and we just encourage you to do so. Of course, this is helmed by Luther Keith, bad man Luther Keith, that is, and he'd be more than happy to have you join him and the rest of the crew that's working. Lastly, I think what I just want to leave you with tonight is that as you take in some of the information that's going to be shared by Dara and the panel that we have, that you begin to understand what that means for you, how you can begin to take some of that forward. Undoubtedly, I'm speaking to the converted already, right? You're already part of this, but find ways to kind of take the information away, and please don't hesitate to come back and share with us through our own communications at DFC what you're doing, okay, and how you're beginning to move things forward. So with that, I'm going to pass this off to Jennifer White with Michigan Radio. Very happy to have her with us. And she's been moderating our events for quite a while now, and we're really happy to have her here. So thank you and welcome.
Good evening, everyone. That's so nice. It's so nice to hear voices. I spend most of my time in a studio, so when there's actual voices and faces in front of me, it's a real treat. The rest of the event is going to be broken up really into 4 parts. We're first going to hear from our keynote speaker, who will give us a better framework to work from for the rest of the afternoon and evening. Then we'll also bring up a group of very good panelists who will be able to bring different perspectives from the community planning perspective, the city planning perspective, and help us engage in a discussion about the best way to use open space. And then we'll give you a chance to ask questions. You were given some cards when you walked in. So as we're having these conversations, start to write down your questions. A number of people will be collecting them over the course of the evening, so just raise your card at any time you have a question, and they'll get that to me. And afterwards, we'd like you to stick around. We'll have a brief reception after our talk, and then you'll have the opportunity to go on 2 guided tours, to the Beaufait Beltline Greenway or to Earthworks Urban Farm. So make sure you take advantage of one of those opportunities. So to kick off the rest of the evening, I'd like to welcome Dara O'Byrne, Deputy Director of the Land Use and Policy at DFC. She's leading the work related to transforming vacant land into an open space network. Dara.
Thank you. Well, as Dan and Jennifer mentioned, we're here tonight to talk about the immense opportunity before us to transform vacant land within the city of Detroit into an open space network, a permanent open space network that really provides the opportunity to improve quality of life for all Detroiters. So what we're working to accomplish tonight is both, as Dan mentioned, to set the frame of how this fits into the larger picture of the strategic agenda within the city of Detroit, but really to get people excited and inspired about vacant land, which is often viewed as such a liability and a detractor from quality of life. But as the pitch party representatives, they really represented this immense opportunity and excitement. So we're here to get people excited and inspired, and our panelists, I'm sure, will do that tonight. We're also here to raise people's projects up, highlight people's projects and the people that are doing the good work. So out in the reception area, there's a number of tables. It's definitely not everybody. There's so many more people that are doing amazing things. It's just a representation of different people that are doing different things throughout the city that represent just the opportunity, the positive opportunity that we have out there. This is also an opportunity to really make the case that we need to keep engaging and discussing and working on this. Creating an innovative open space network isn't something that's just going to happen. It's something that we need to continue to work on and continue to talk about and continue to plan to ensure happens in a comprehensive way and isn't just number of different projects throughout the city, but that it actually comes together to create an innovative open space network. So as Dan mentioned, cities across the globe are struggling with things related to food security, energy costs, infrastructure provision, public health issues, environmental degradation. And most of these cities have incredible land constraints. But the city of Detroit, we have an abundance of land available to us. In fact, we have 23.4 square miles of vacant land. And this really is often viewed, as I mentioned, as a liability. And if you live near blighted vacant properties, you know that it can really detract from your quality of life. But we can really flip that on its head and really turn it into an amenity for the city of Detroit and become a global leader in both urban sustainability and innovation. But when we talk about open space, we talk about it from many different perspectives. It's important to consider that open space just isn't one thing. There's many different things that would make up a comprehensive open space network within the city of Detroit. It could include things like productive uses, like urban agriculture, like energy production, natural areas that provide ecological value, green stormwater infrastructure that can help handle our stormwater or our rainwater when we have rain events. And of course, parks and recreation, opportunities to gather, to play, to recreate. Important connections so that all of these things aren't standalone, but that they're actually connected through trails and greenways. And buffers that can provide buffers between industrial areas, along highways to improve air quality, reduce sound impacts. There's immense opportunity in all of these different types of open space. So as Dan framed in this entire series, the Ideas for Innovation series, we've been talking about this strategic agenda for action, which really provides a unique value proposition for the city of Detroit. He mentioned the focus on driving density and growth in areas of growth in the city, and the opportunity to, and the importance of strengthening our neighborhoods in stabilization areas. And a really key component of this is the areas of transformation, where we really have an opportunity to transform vacant land into an open space amenity. All of these things are really important, and I think a lot of people really understand how to focus growth and how to have density, and many other cities have examples of that. Many of us have been working on stabilizing neighborhoods for a long time, but really the transformation of vacant land into an open space amenity is something that is new and fairly unique to Detroit as an opportunity. And the reality is we can't stabilize our neighborhoods unless we deal with blight and unless we deal with the vacancy. And we can't focus growth and return our real estate markets unless we deal with the vacant land in Detroit. And that's where the opportunity for open space really comes in. Detroit Future City Strategic Framework highlights this opportunity in land uses. We were calling them innovation productive areas and innovation ecological areas. They're the teal areas on here, and really began, and from a very high level, showed the opportunity of these areas to provide open space within the city of Detroit. But I think it's really important to remember that open space is not just going to be in these areas. It's going to be integrated throughout. It's going to be integrated in our areas of growth. It's going to be integrated in our neighborhoods, and it all needs to connect to create a cohesive system. And while DFC laid out the vision, these areas still are very high level. And more work needs to be done to really think about what does this mean and how do we actually implement it over time. The technical term I like to use is they're really large blobs on a map. And so how do we actually begin to really think about how they land in a community? How does it relate to residents that live in those areas? And how do we ensure that all of the work being done in there is really focused on improving quality of life? So DFC continues to advocate for the need for an open space plan to really help answer some of those fundamental questions, to provide people certainty about where different types of open space should go. Where is the best place for green stormwater infrastructure to go? What communities really want urban agriculture, and where is that appropriate? Where are the natural areas really needed? Where is it lacking, and where do our kids really need to be able to access natural areas, and where do we have the greatest need for improving air quality and things like that? So we need to figure all of that out and balance it. We know that we can do it within the framework that we have. We have 23.4 square miles, but how does it all fit together to create a cohesive space? Some of this work is already being done at the community level, and I think really is an example of how this could be done citywide. Communities like the Lower East Side Action Plan and Brightmoor have really begun to embrace this opportunity and really are figuring out how to integrate these open space types within their community and working with residents. And so Jackie Bejma, representing Land Inc. and the East Side Community Network, is going to be able to talk about some of those specific projects that are happening on the East Side right now, whether it's urban agriculture or green stormwater infrastructure installing on the East Side, or planting pennycrests for biofuels. There's a lot of opportunities. Brightmoor is really embracing the opportunity for urban agriculture and is showing how it can be integrated into their community and how the community is really embracing it. So these are just some examples of other cities that have integrated open space plans and so that you can then implement over time. They provide certainty for residents that are trying to do this work on their own. It provides certainty to city officials that are making decisions about land disposition or writing policies about the types of open space and where they should go. This is the kind of thing that we need to continue to work on. One of the things that really provides an opportunity is that our open space network could really do a lot of different things. Open space, and this is part of what we want to hear from you in our reception area. What is important to you, and what do you see in the potential of our vacant land? Open space could create a beautiful place to live and to visit. It could create a place to bike, to walk, and to play. It could create a food sovereign city. It could create an energy independent city. It could connect neighborhoods and employment districts. It could clean our water by reducing pollution that enters our rivers and lakes. It could clean the air we breathe and improve our health. It could provide habitat for birds and animals, and it could stabilize our neighborhoods through blight removal. Now, all of this work could happen at different scales. As Dan mentioned, it's something that you could do as an individual. It's something that you could come together as a community and work as a community to do community scale projects. And some of these things are going to have citywide impact. They're going to be there's so much potential. And Detroit Future City is really working at all of those different scales. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of projects that we're working on from DFC's perspective. So as I've mentioned, one of the things that we continue to work on is advocating for open space planning and working on providing more details about the different types of open space that could be considered and what different considerations go into designating different areas for different types of open space. We're also working with the Center for Community Progress on researching different ownership models. Who owns the land over the long term, and how do we pay for it? So they're doing some research related to financing and funding mechanisms. We know that us as individuals aren't going to be able to pay for it all, and the city government isn't necessarily going to pay for it all. So how do we come up with innovative structures for funding this vision? Erin Kelly from our office is here to talk about a project that's going to be released in September called the Field Guide for Working with Lots. This is an opportunity for individuals to get information about different designs and different ideas for what you can do in the lot next door or the lots in your community. There's going to be site designs, considerations for identifying and assessing your lot, and just a really great resource for everyone here. So she'll be at the reception to answer questions about that. We're also doing a lot of work related to green stormwater infrastructure. We're working on the Great Lake Restoration Initiative with many partners that are actually here tonight. We're also working with DWSD on stormwater rate reduction pilot project. We're working on coordination with the U.S. Department of Energy to look at opportunities for renewable energy within the city of Detroit. How can we use our land to create alternative energy sources? We're also working and partnering with Greening of Detroit and others on carbon buffering pilot projects. How do we implement carbon buffering to clean our air along highways and reduce the impact to surrounding residents? And those are just a few. We're doing a number of other projects as well. And just to reiterate, a lot of the folks here tonight are going to be talking, and Jennifer's going to introduce the panel in more detail. But I also did want to mention the folks that have tables outside, so during the reception you can seek people out. As I mentioned, the field guide, Aaron will be there to answer questions about that and provide some resources. Land Forum, which is a partnership of Michigan Community Resources, the Greening of Detroit, and others, which I'm probably forgetting, is here, and they can help answer questions about how do you access land that's in your community, whether it's next door or across the street. How do you figure out who owns it? How do you figure out if you can use it and have access to it, whether purchasing or leasing and things like that? They're a great resource for that. The Greening of Detroit is here with information about a lot of their programs and projects, as is Keep Growing Detroit. And Black Family Development is also here because they are initiating some projects related to vacant land transformation. And of course, the Blight Boot Camp winners will be there if you want to talk to them and learn more about their projects. I also wanted, again, to thank the food here, Food Plus and North End Christian CDC for providing the fresh food. Just an example of what our vacant land can really do for us, nourish us. And so that was just really exciting, and wanted to say thanks for that. And then again, the tours will be happening. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Well, now I'd like to welcome up our panel so we can continue this discussion. First, I'd like to welcome Jackie Bejma, Executive Director of Land, Inc., for Land Assembly for Neighborhood Development, or LAND, a not-for-profit developer formed 13 years ago to work on Detroit's east side. She is responsible for overseeing Land's portfolio of properties and also the development and implementation of new projects that align with the DFC's strategic framework, including the Mack Avenue Green Tea, using pennycress as biofuel, the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative Green Infrastructure Implementation, a rain garden on Mack Avenue, as well as small-scale solar energy projects. Jackie, welcome. Next, we'd like to welcome Kathryn Underwood. She's a city planner with the Detroit City Planning Commission. For over 20 years, she has been a planner with expertise including land use policy, urban food systems, zoning, and sustainable redevelopment policy. Kathryn led the creation of the city's first urban agriculture ordinance and is now leading the creation of a livestock ordinance. Kathryn, welcome. Next, we'd like to welcome Guy Williams, President and CEO of Detroiters Working for Environmental Justice, an organization committed to advancing environmental justice and sustainable redevelopment through innovative policy, education, and workforce initiatives. Named 2014 Michigan Green Leader of the Year, Williams is chair of the Rails to Trails Conservancy Board of Directors, chair emeritus of the Great Lakes Leadership Academy Board of Governors, and a director on the board of both Eastern Market Corporation and Pesticide Action Network North America. Guy, welcome. And finally, welcoming Todd Scott, the Executive Director of the Detroit Greenways Coalition. The coalition is working to build a network of trails, bike routes, and complete streets across the city of Detroit. One of the organization's main priorities is the Inner Circle Greenway, a 26-mile walking and bike trail through the cities of Detroit, Hamtramck, Highland Park, and Dearborn. Todd, welcome. So Kathryn, I want to come to you first. From your perspective and your role at the city, what role does open space, and more specifically urban agriculture, play in the future of Detroit?
So first of all, I would like to say how happy I am to be here with so many friendly faces and all of this heat. And to be part of a gathering that recognizes hope in action. So we're talking about ideas, but we're also talking about people who are making it happen every day in our neighborhoods. So I have to applaud you all first before I even start talking about what we're doing. So what role will open space play in city plans is a big question that has even more questions associated with it than it has answers at this time. One thing that we're glad about is that we finally have a planning director. So Maurice Cox, I don't know how many of you have been, I see somebody clapping, yeah, he's a good guy. Real excited about what he's gonna do in his leadership, so I'm hoping we'll be able to move forward with some of this. But the phenomena of open space is unprecedented the way it happened in Detroit, both in the scale of it, how quickly it continues to happen, because as we tear down more and more buildings, we have more and more open space. So we also have unprecedented challenges that we need to meet and questions that we need to answer and complexity that we need to figure out in order to manage and move forward with productive use of open space. Open space exists in Detroit differently than I think it does in most cities, because it's in various scales across the city, across neighborhoods, and as you all know, even block by block. You know, you can have an intact block and then all of a sudden it's open space. I like the term open space versus vacant land, and I think it was Dan Patera that first started talking about the difference in the feel and what those terms evoke. Because vacant land to me suggests the end of something, the way something landed, where open space suggests a possibility and what can be done. But in Detroit, even though it's open space, it's unintended open space. It's not something that we planned for. But let's get this straight, that open space does not mean a blank slate. People who are here, we are here, and we are still in our neighborhoods, and we are still working towards improving our neighborhoods. I was in New Orleans a couple of years ago and saw a banner downtown that said, "This is your blank slate." And I was really kind of horrified by the use of that term, because you know, in Detroit, we're trying to push back on that. We're trying to push back on that whole Christopher Columbus narrative and recognize that we are here. Can I hear you holler? Yeah. Okay.
Well, actually, Kathryn, that leads me to a question for Jackie, because we get into this question about community development, right? And you're describing a Christopher Columbus phenomenon. How does this idea around open space shape and form community development?
Good question. Where I work, and I think we had a couple of pictures of it, the Lower East Side Action Plan, we've had ongoing conversations with residents for 2, 3, 4 years about open space and innovative ideas to reuse it. That's the whole basis of that plan. And they've come up with a ton of innovative ideas. Everything in that plan was driven by residents, and we continue to have those conversations all the time as we think about what to do with it in the future.
And just a reminder, if you are tweeting or on Facebook, use hashtag DFC ideas. If you're coming up with questions of your own, write it down on the card and give it a wave. Someone will pick it up. You know, Todd, one of the issues that I think plays into the idea of city planning is how you tie all this space together, and that's what you're tackling. How do you do it? We're talking about a lot of land and trying to connect communities.
Well, much of what we do is opportunistic. So it's based upon if funding shows up, if there's an opportunity to collaborate with different people. And so we're always ready to jump on things and make things happen. I think one really good example is out here is the Beltline, where you know, it's an abandoned rail corridor that's privately owned now. But we were able to shift the Iron Bell Trail, which is the trail that the governor announced it runs from Belle Isle to Wisconsin. And by making that part of the trail, that opened up $1 million of funding that we could use to purchase that property and convert that into a trail. So, you know, we just jump on things when they become available, and we're pretty crafty because we don't have a lot of money. But they're fortunate there's a lot of grants available to come in and make these connections between these different locations. And
What's the risk you run if you don't make those connections, if you end up with disconnected green space or open space around the city?
Well, I think it's just a missed opportunity because it's so much fun to be able to ride or run or along, like, say, along the riverfront or whatnot, and make these long connections. It's you know, other cities, they don't have this opportunity because they don't have as much open space or as much public land, and we have these. You know, and even if we miss opportunities with going off-road, we have these wide roads designed for 2 million people, and then, you know, we built an interstate network system that drew all the cars off it, and we had a tremendous loss of population. And then the streetcars were pulled out of the roads, and then now we have so much vacant space along the roads where there's no need for on-street parking. So we have these wide roads that are just such an opportunity for us to go in and put in protected bike lanes and to connect up the entire city. So even if there's a disconnect off-road to make a greenway, we can always go on-road and find the opportunity to make it happen.
Guy, we're in a city that is an industrial city, so the environmental justice piece of this can't be ignored. How should our view of the environmental justice perspective play into this conversation as we're trying to figure out what to do with this space?
Well, thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for bringing up the topic. And I want to take my lead a little bit from Kathryn and thank all of you who are here, first of all. It's great to see partners and people I know and people I don't know all engaging in the conversation. And what I want to share with you, Detroiters Working for Environmental Justice is 20 years old. A few of our founding members besides me are in the room. And we've come up with a recently developed vision, right? We're 20 years old, what do we do for an encore? And part of why I'm here is I want to enroll you in a vision where Detroit is a global model for a vibrant urban center where all thrive in environmental, economic, and social health. So a vision like that, we have a platform to take off from, and the open space is a big element of that. And as Kathryn was saying, it's not about a blank slate. It's about a lot of opportunity. One of the things that Todd brought up about the network of greenways, and something that really bugs me, is that we tend to be very fragmented in our investments. You know, I would like to challenge our city and our leaders to think bigger and more cohesively. I want to mention a process that's underway that I think is a great structure to help